we are all historical beings. We are here to make history. Everybody goes around saying, I'm here for a reason. God did not create me for anything, for nothing. And the only context that they understand that is that, oh, they're here for a reason to make money.
Or a conquest.
Yeah, you know, imperialistic and capitalistic ideas. That's what they have. The major job of the elites and who are our oppressors is that they want to, they rob you of that consciousness. From a young age, they make you feel you cannot change your situation, that this is the way things are, and your intelligence is graded by how you can make the best of this terrible situation. Not that your intelligence is how well you can change this situation generally for you, not only yourself but your class. You know, we cannot think of individual freedoms or things that we can do vertically. We have to think horizontally, not for the benefit of one person elevating among us, but things that are better that everybody in our class can, because we are educated by the elites. You are educated by your oppressor, whether you like it or not. They control the power. They decide what you learn in school. So it is what you learn in school is their message. In a way, I can say it is their spirit. You know, you go to school so they can introject their spirit, project their spirit into you. You know, so we are all living this duality of, you know, we are all oppressed and oppressor at the same time. People don't understand that. That's why you see a man that is fighting for Atiku. You are wondering why he's fighting. Because inside us, we have been indoctrinated with their spirits. We believe that as long as you can be Atiku, then you are free. Atiku is the meaning of freedom. Buhari is the meaning of freedom. Tinubu is, when you are Tinubu, then you are free. You understand? Because everybody just wants to be free. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody just wants to have a voice. Why do you think the people of Niger Delta are made to be so poor? Or the people in Maiduguri, in Borno, in Yobe, where all the minerals are, where all the food is grown, the places where our resources, the wealth of this country really exists. Why do you think the people there are so poor? It's because with poverty comes voicelessness, comes silence. Poverty silences. And when a man has no voice, there's nothing in this world he wants more than a voice. And then you take him to school and tell him that the only way to get a voice is to be like your oppressor. So you take him to school and instead of telling him that the only way to get a voice is to change this system that makes you voiceless, you say, no, emulate the oppressor so that in that way you too can be like them. So that's why you see everybody fighting on behalf of Atiku. Because if Atiku can be imprisoned or is suddenly made voiceless, then we have cognitive dissonance. Our entire hope and dream and everything we've been fighting for in our life, we find out that it's zero because, oh, even Atiku can be robbed. Even Dino Melaye can be arrested. Because we don't really understand, people don't really understand what freedom is. They've changed the meaning. The hope is to end oppression, not to become the new oppressors. The oppressors cannot do it. Trust me, anybody that benefits from this system cannot do it. We cannot even have this conversation we are having. If you go and get it, they'll be giving you 1 million excuses why they need to, Nigeria is working. But Nigeria is not working.
Yeah, there are 1 million symptoms that shows.
But they will be giving you their own 5 reasons why. Forget the 100 million people in poverty is not enough reason why it's not working, say. They'll be telling you some numbers, some things that you don't even see, you know, because they benefit. So that is just how it is. So it is only the oppressed that can liberate the oppressor. That's one of the things that Paulo Freire teaches us in the Pedagogy of the Oppressed.
When you talk about ending oppression as being the business or duty of the oppressed, if we want to really concretize, like break it into models of one particular action into items of one action, what are the things that are on your recommendation list? Maybe say protests or voting in another direction, or what is revolution? Not taking it from the theoretical surface.
Revolution is action and reflection moving together simultaneously. Okay. So, because action without reflection is just activism. It's not revolutionary. It's not revolution or revolutionary. And reflection or words without action, they say it's verbalism. Abi? So it is the mixture of the two, you know. So I feel like people, if we are really going to liberate the people, we must make them aware of their historical responsibility. We cannot think like the oppressor and say we want to do for, or we are trying to win the people over. These are oppressor statements. These are oppressor mentality or mindset. We as revolutionaries, we have to go among the people and work with the people and try as much as we can to develop a strategy with and among the people. You know, not thinking that we know something that they do not know. You know, I think that is what is most important.
Let us talk about recently, you know, some people decided to start devising their own methods. For instance, if you look at the IPOB, they have decided to be going to wait abroad for any public official to embarrass them and send them back. How would you evaluate this kind of action? Would you appraise it? Would you applaud it? Or would you fault it?
It is not in my place to do any of those three. But all I will say is that next time any group of Nigerians are planning to beat up any Nigerian politician, especially when I'm there. I'm in Europe. I was there at that time. I was in Europe then, and they don't let me know about it. I'll be very offended. You know, that's the only thing I have to say about that, because I was there. I was in Europe. I mean, is it not more hands that we need? The more hands, the merrier. You know, something like that is going to happen, and at least I didn't hear about it. To be present.
To do what if you were present?
I mean,
more hands.
I know Yoruba, we have an adage that says, well, the name we are going to give our child is always in our stomach. What I'm going to do there is not anybody's business, but it should be
that you are there.
It should not. It should be an open invite. As many Nigerians that can be there in the diaspora as possible should be made available. I mean, that's when it becomes really democratic.
So Ekerimadu's meeting is not democratic.
I feel no, it was democratic, but not democratic enough.
Okay.
Yes, because I feel there could have been more Nigerians there, for and against the beating. That's it. We have to be dialogical. I'm telling you, it is only oppressors that don't want to have opponents or opposition or have countering ideas. No, let it be a big party. You know, some people will beat him, some people will free him, some people will beat him again, some people will.
Some people helped him to escape.
It
was not enough.
It's like,
let us come to the FBI list. when you saw the list, I know you were not interested in ministerial list, but at least you must have seen the FBI list.
I saw the news of the list. Okay. And this is also, I don't care about what list. I don't know anybody there. Okay. So what's my business?
But there were many Nigerians there.
So
what does it portend?
Okay. Dangote is a billionaire and is a Nigerian. How does that affect my life? Okay. Does it affect my life directly in any way? Can I go to him for money? Does he have any responsibility towards me personally? So why do I have a responsibility towards criminals? I mean, I don't understand how we think in Nigeria. If Otedola doesn't have any responsibility towards me, he doesn't have any reason to, out of the money he has made from our commonwealth, to invest in the well-being of my children and his own children and the future of Nigeria, he has no responsibility. But suddenly somebody steals abroad, then we all have responsibility of the. I mean, where is this thinking coming from?
The thinking is,
okay, let's even now agree that this is how people think, that this is not some kind of madness, complete madness. Let's even agree. Okay, so what is going on in Niger Delta? How many white people are involved in that one? The complete destruction of the ecosystem and our environment, the 24-hour gas flaring by international multinational corporations filled with the most educated white people. The most educated Americans and Europeans and French are the ones operating these companies, and they destroy. Millions of lives have been lost in the last decade due to just the pollution, the health pollution against Nigerian people. Now let's talk about capital flight, the amount of money that is still. This is not the Nigerian side of the corruption. No. So who is bringing out the list? I don't understand all this nonsense. And even if they now bring out the list, do you think white people are going to go online and start saying, well, this? since white people have been hearing that Niger Delta, this is just no one excuse. Let me not go to Boko Haram and the arms proliferation by America and Libya. Let's just use Niger Delta as an example. Since they've been hearing all the atrocities that Shell has been causing in Niger Delta, how many times have you heard white people go online en masse and make it trend that Niger Delta is, there are white criminals destroying Niger Delta? Has it ever been a trending issue from the white Twitter or Instagram community about the criminality happening in West Africa in the hands of their best, the best of their society? Now, if you tell me that Wole Soyinka was caught for fraud in America, now I'm interested. Because now that is how you relate yourself. Any group that wants to progress or prosper in this system, you must attach yourself to your best. It is only the things that the best of you are doing that you will recognize.